Hello everyone, nice to meet you all again. Today we're going to do the part 3 of the chapter Neural Control and Coordination. Okay, so already we have completed 2 parts. So people, those who haven't gone through it, so kindly go through it so that it will help you in the continuity with the chapter. So let's begin with the first question, which was asked in the year 1993. CNS is mostly made up of dash. Okay, so what does this CNS stand for? It stands for Central Nervous System, right? Anything else that you would like to add about CNS? So the Central Nervous System, as you all know, it controls most of the functions of the body and mind. So actually CNS is comprised of 2 parts, right? One is the brain and the other is the spinal cord. Right? It consists of 2 parts. One is brain and the other is spinal cord. The brain is the center of our thoughts and interpreter of our external environment and the origin of control cover over the body. Okay, so what is the main function of the CNS? Did you ever think about it? Being the central nervous system, this is responsible for integrating sensory information and it also responds accordingly. It consists of 2 main components, as we all know. The spinal cord, which serves as a conduit for signals between the brain and the rest of the body. It also controls simple mucosas, that is, they call it as muculoselective reflexes without input from the brain. So actually the brain is situated at one part of the body, but the spinal cord, which actually happens to be a mediator between the brain and the whole system of the body. Okay, so this is a very important part of this system. And here, if you see, they're talking about CNS. What is it mostly made up of? Can any guesses? It is actually made up of neurons, association neurons. Neurons are also called as nerve cells. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option C. So here you have a picture which depicts the brain, which is a central nervous system, and you have the spinal cord, which is actually the second part of the central nervous system. Okay, so any idea? So you have PNS there. Any idea about what is this PNS and ENS? PNS stands for peripheral nervous system. Okay, what does PNS stand for? Peripheral nervous system. And what is ENS? It is the enteric nervous system. So you should know this, right? ENS stands for enteric nervous system and PNS stands for peripheral nervous system. Okay, peripheral nervous system. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option C. Let's go to the next question here. Vagus nerve, which is dash, and this question was asked in the year 1992. I think we have already spoke about this in the part 2, but still I'll just brief you out. Okay, the vagus nerve, which is historically cited as the pneumogastric nerve, and this is supposed to be the 10th cranial nerve, and it is often abbreviated as CN10. Okay, and this interfaces between the parasympathetic control of the heart, lungs, and many other parts. So how do you stimulate this vagus nerve? Your exhale should be long and slow. This is a key for stimulating the vagus nerve and reaching the state of relaxation. The vagus nerve, if you see, it is connected to your vocal cords and the muscles at the back of your throat. While let's take any action, let's take singing, you hum, you chat, you kind of gargling, anything will activate these muscles and they will stimulate your vagus nerves. Okay, something interesting that I've shared about this. Yes, the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. So the vagus nerve is a critical nerve for supplying parasympathetic information to the visceral organs of the respiratory, digestive and urinary system. It is important in the control of heart rate, bronchoconstriction and digestive process. Okay, so this is an extra information that you can remember. Next question here. Afferent nerve fibers carry impulses from dash, and this question was asked in the year 1992. Okay, so before we go into the solution, let's discuss few points about the afferent nerves. So these nerves are set to carry signals towards the CNS, that is the central nervous system, from the periphery. Okay, afferent may also be used generally to describe the nerves that are traveling into the nervous system structure, that is input fibers for a particular area as opposed to the output fibers. So you can ask me a question, what is meant by afferent nerves? They are nerves that carry impulses towards the central nervous system. Okay, so they carry impulses to, very easy, they carry impulses to the receptors of the CNS, which is option B. Okay, therefore the right answer is option B. While the afferent motor nerve, these fibers, they carry orders or responses from CNS to the effectors, that is to the muscles and the glands. Next question here. One function of parasympathetic nerves nervous system is dash. Okay, sympathetic nervous system prepares the body for stress or emergency conditions, while if you take the parasympathetic nervous system, it is associated with the period of rest. Very important. Sympathetic is associated with the emergency situations of your body, like the shock or any kind of threat. You kind of become panic. All those situations are handled by the sympathetic nerve system. When I take parasympathetic nerve system, they are associated with the period of rest. So when one faces a stress or emergency conditions, the sympathetic system will enlarge the pupil to allow more light in the eye, while during rest, the parasympathetic nerve system will constrict the pupil. Yeah, it is not necessary, right? Now imagine, let's take an example here. Imagine you're going to see tiger. All of a sudden you saw a tiger, and your immediate reaction will be, you will just try to, concentrate, focus, and see whether what you saw was really a tiger, right? So your pupil kind of enlarges. So that is the example that can be given here. So when it is in a period of rest, obviously it will be in rest. It doesn't have to stare, or if it doesn't has to focus on something, it's in rest. So therefore the right answer to this question is option D, constriction of the pupil. Okay, next question here. Next question here is, which of the following cranial nerves can regulate the heartbeat? Very easy question. We just now discussed it in the earlier part of this chapter. We talked about vagus nerve, right, which is the 10th cranial. So now you should be able to answer. Yes, the right answer is option A, 10. Okay, so the 10th pair of the cranial nerve, which is also called as vagus nerve, okay, has a motor branch, and that is called as cardiac nerve, which innervate these cardiac muscles. Therefore the right answer to this question is option A, 10. And this vagus nerve is also associated with the digestive part as well as the urinary part. Just you have to remember. Next question here. Which of the following is an example of the negative feedback loop in humans? Okay. So any idea what could be the answer here? So when the set point of the hypothalamus is disturbed by high temperature, it stimulates the vasodilation and the sweating, while in low temperature there is vasoconstriction and shivering. Very important thing to be noted here. This question, if you see, it is not just meant for science students, something in general that you can know. Here I mentioned an explanation. I gave you an explanation saying that whenever your body temperature is set to rise, you must have experienced when you have fever, your temperature rises. And when you take in some tablet or you suddenly start to sweat, automatically your body temperature will suppress. You must have noticed this. The same thing when you are kind of, if you kind of feel cold, again the system changes into shivering. You must have noticed this. So when the set point of the hypothalamus is disturbed by a high temperature, so here it is monitored with the help of hypothalamus. So when it is disturbed with a high temperature, it will stimulate the vasodilation, which will lead to sweating, while in low temperature the vasoconstriction takes place, which leads to shivering. Therefore the right answer to this question is option D. So it is a constriction of the skin blood muscles and contraction of the skeletal muscle when it is too cold. Okay, Next question here. In vertebrates, simple reflex action is dash. Before we go into the solution, what do you mean by reflex or reflex action? A reflex or a reflex action is an involuntary or a voluntary action? It's an involuntary action and nearly instantaneous movement in response to a stimulus. Very simple. You touch something hot without any thinking or without any second thought. You happen to take your fingers out of that place. So that is an involuntary action. You call that as a reflex action. Okay? A reflex is made possible by neural pathways which are called as reflex arcs, which can act on the impulse before that impulse reaches the brain. So you can see that immediate action, right? Nobody is instructing you that you should take the hand out of it. It's an automatic reaction that your body, kind of protects you. You feel something hot, you feel something too cold, you immediately take your hand before even the impulse could reach your brain, right? So in vertebrates, if you talk about the simple reflex reaction, when a reflex consist only of two neurons in an animal, okay? Fine, one sensory neuron and one will be motor neuron. Therefore, the right answer to this question would be monosynaptic. Okay, the right answer is monosynaptic. So here, if you see, they've clearly mentioned when a reflex arc consists of only two neurons in an animal, so it is defined as monosynaptic. Okay, therefore the right answer is option D. Next question here. Okay, read this question here. Ivan Pavlov performed experiments on dash. Any idea what did he do? So who is this person? So this person, Ivan, he's actually a Russian physiologist known primarily for his work in classical conditioning. From his childhood days, Ivan demonstrated intellectual curiosity along with an unusual energy which he referred to as instinct for research. And further, his work was carried out by many people. So this was just an introduction that I would like to give about him. So conditioned reflexes. So as I already mentioned, I gave you a clue while I explained about him. He spoke about conditioned reflexes. That is, the reflexes that are developed by training and learning were first demonstrated by the Russian scientist Ivan. Okay? And he did it in dogs. He used to ring the bell while giving the food to his dog. After some time, when only bell is rung, watering of mouth started in the dog. That is, the dog learned to close association of food and bell and gets into contact. He gets to know about the dog's reflexes. So this experiment he carried out with the help of dogs. That is, he made the dog practice only when the bell rings, it has to eat. So it's accustomed to that activity. So it performed on the conditioned reflexes. Therefore, the right answer is option B. Okay, next question here. Good vision depends upon the adequate intake of carotene-rich food. Yes, we all know that. And I've given you the answer. Very straightforward question. I didn't have much explanation. Let's discuss the statements here. So if you clearly see here, vitamin A are their derivatives are formed from carotene. That's right. Right? Look at the option 2. The photopigments are embedded in the membrane disc of the inner segment. No. Retinal is a derivative of vitamin A, right? And retinal is a light absorbing part of all the visual photopigments. That also we accept. As we all know, carotene is a source of retinal which is involved in the formation of rhodopsin of the rod cells, which is associated with your vision. Retinal, a derivative of vitamin A, is the light absorbing part of all visual photopigments. Photopigments are said to occur entirely on the surface of the membrane disc. Therefore, the statements which are right are option 1, 3 and 4. Okay, next question here. Photosensitive compound in human eye is made up of dash. So before we go into the explanation, we all know eye is an organ. We are talking about eye first. So eye is an organ that detects light. What does it do? It detects light and send signals along the optic nerve to the brain. In humans, the eye is the valuable sense organ that gives us the ability to see. It allows for light perception and vision, including the ability to differentiate between colors and depth. So this is something that I would like to add on here. So now coming to the question, photosensitive compound of the human eye is made up of retinal. I've given you one, and the other one is called as opsin. Retinal is also known as retinaldehyde. It was originally called as retin-A. And the retinal is one of the many forms of vitamin A, the number of which varies from species to species. Retinal is actually a Pauline chromophore bound to proteins called as opsins and is a chemical basis of animal vision. So the photosensitive compound in the human eye is made up of opsin and retinal. Okay, next question here. A gymnast is able to balance his body upside down even in the total darkness because of dash. Okay, so you're given 4 options here. Option A, vestibular apparatus, organ of Corti. Okay, so what do you think will be the answer here? The right answer is option A. So before we go into it, let's go deep into what is this vestibular system or apparatus of the inner ear. Okay, it is of the inner ear. Okay, where is it present? Inner ear is involved in balance. The vestibular system consists of 2 structures of the body, and that is of the inner ear, the vestibule and the semicircular canals and the structure of the membranous labyrinth contained within them. Okay, so what makes up this vestibular apparatus? I've just told you. The vestibular system consists of 2 structures of the bony, what is it called as? Labyrinth. Okay, of the inner ear, the vestibule and the semicircular canals and the structures of the membranous labyrinth contained within them. So you can ask me, what is the function of this apparatus? This is a sensory system that is responsible for providing our brain with information about motion, head position, spatial orientation, etc. So this is something that I would like to add on here. So here the vestibular apparatus has specific receptors called as cristae and macula to maintain the balance and the posture of the body. Therefore the right answer is option A. Next question here. In mammalian eye, the fovea is the center of the visual field. Okay, so when you have gone through the parts of the eye or the structure of the eye, you must have seen an important part called a fovea in it. So any idea what is that? So fovea in the eye is a tiny pit. What is it denoted as? It is denoted as a tiny pit located in the macula of the retina that provides the clearest vision of all. Only in the fovea are the layers of the retina spread aside to let light fall directly on the cones and the cells that give the sharpest visions, also called as central fovea or fovea centralis. Okay, so here fovea centralis is the most sensitive part of the retina. It has high density of cones, but rods are not found here. Therefore the right answer to this question is option D. And you have the fovea here, so you can see the part, right? It's the central part. Yes. Next question here. Which one of the following statement is not correct? You have to analyze the statements before answering. Let's go to the first statement here. Retinal is the light absorbing portion of the visual photopigments. Is it right? Yes. Here we are asking which one is not right. So clearly understand the question. The first statement is correct, therefore that is not the answer. Look at the second one there. In retina, the rods have the photopigment rhodopism, while cones have 3 different photopigments. That is also right. Retinal is a derivative of vitamin C. That is also right. Coming to the last option there, rhodopism is the purplish red protein present in rods only, and that is wrong. Retinal, as you all know, it is a derivative of vitamin A, right? It is a derivative of vitamin A. So which one is wrong here? Option C. Retinal is a derivative of vitamin A. So here I think I made a mistake here. Yeah, the answer is C, because retinal is a derivative of vitamin A. They have clearly mentioned it is vitamin C. I think I just went with ascorbic acid, so I just confused. But here, to be very sure, the right one I mean, out of the 4 options, which one is wrong? If you see, clearly it is option C, because retinal, if you see, it is not the derivative of vitamin C, it is a derivative of vitamin A. Retinal, as you all know, it is a polyene chromophore, and it is bound to proteins called as opsonins. The chemical basis of animal vision, bound to the proteins called type 1 rhodopsins. Then you have retinal, allows certain microorganisms to convert light into metabolic energy. So out of the 4 options here, the right one, okay, is option C, which is wrong out of the 4 options given here. Maybe I think I just misled you, but it's not a problem. But I've clearly given you the answer, because I just when I read the 4th option, I kind of understood, okay, because 4th one was also right. Then only I realized, okay, so retinal is actually a derivative of vitamin A and not vitamin C. Okay, therefore the right answer is option C. Okay, fine. So with this we complete the part 3 of neural control and coordination. Hope to meet you in the next part with another set of questions and with amazing explanations to go on. And all the best for all of you for preparing, who are all preparing for your NEET exams. Thank you.